Okay, welcome back. It is June 24 of 2015. We're going to take a look at the final lesson of Franz Brentano and his descriptive psychology. And it's a look at his final work of psychognosy, the final true reflective work at the level of the psyche. Remember, all of his reflective work is at the level of the psyche, not the level of gnosis or cognition. But his reflective work is always at the level of the psyche, or more appropriately, a Sophia-type wisdom rather than a gnosis-type wisdom. So if we look at the first moment, the task of forming a psychognostic sketch of the soul, every psychical internalization is a composite of the following: the particular psychical event and the substantial participation of that event in the universal aspects of psychical conceptualization or signification. Our sign model project is a sketch of our unity of particularity of our soul, which equals the soul of the self. And remember, for Brentano, every categorical judgment is also at the same time an existential judgment. Our soul equals our positing of our consciousness as a signification presentation, more sign presentation than conceptual presentation. So if we move into this actual work of constructing this psychical anatomy of our soul, then we look at the psychical work of signification, classification, and relation. Under signification, from the particular psychical event we acquire sensate compositions as ideas, and we formulate those into generalizations. Nothing more than a percept generalization. Secondly, we form a reflective, unified, categorical judgment, which raises the generalization to a signification. This judging is our work of psychognosy. It is a cognitive work at the level of the psyche, a psychognosy, which is Brentano's replacement of the word of Sophia-type reflective work. Psychognosy, it's a cognitive work at the level of psyche. So we do form categorical judgments that raise generalizations to signs. And then we apply our motivational, emotional slant to those significations. Our second step is classification, and we have from the stored significations in our mechanical memory, we reflectively engage in analogy and measuring and form the two following classes: the genus, which are the signs that represent major categorical qualities. Species are the particular conceptual qualities abbreviated under genus. And then there are going to be relational gaps between these components. You're going to have a sign model consisting of components that are going to be related to each other. There will be relational gaps between these components. But you will have categorical components with abbreviated species of particular qualities under each genus category. So that leads us to this positing of the sign model. The composite sign model is called by Brentano a psychical act model. In other words, it is the psyche. We posit that model as our posited conceptual ideas or signified ideas. They pass through categorical judgment and existential judgment. They're empowered through our motivational, emotional intention and slant. We end up with an apperceptive model where any particularity can be dialectically integrated into the universality of the whole that we have formed. It becomes our ideal self, the ideal psyche that we possess. We form it by engaging with external reality, but we don't engage with external reality to form an ontology or metaphysic. We engage with external reality to identify the self, the ideal self, to discover the universal signs that speak to selfhood. And that will help us. We gain psychical content from the external events. That psychical content becomes a self-presentation internally. And then we take that internal psychical presentation and we do the work of psychognosy, or cognition at the level of psyche, psychognosy for Brentano, and psychognosy forms generalizations, significations, gaps of relation between significations. It develops subsystems of genus and species and forms a psychical act model of self-identity, of soul identity. That is the final lesson. That is the end of his book, the end of descriptive psychology, and it gives us a powerful look and, in my opinion, a powerful corrective. I think he wanted to form a corrective at the end here to let you know that no, I'm not proceeding beyond Aristotle's Da Kunta threshold at the level of psyche. I'm not moving on to the composition threshold that has been so emphasized by individuals like Jean-Luc Nancy, other philosophers of the 21st century. Brentano never moved beyond the Da Kunta threshold of the psyche. He never moved into the composition threshold. He never had an intention of forming an ontology, never had an intention of informing a metaphysic. Instead, he had an intention as a psychologist of formulating a universal, ideal, psychical act model and what that involves. So let us wrap up our final lesson of Franz Brentano's descriptive psychology.